Okay, we are going to fill in the blanks of our notes for Roman Republic government. This is that second page that we just added to your notes packet yesterday. So please turn to the second page. You're going to need that one, and then the one after it with the chart that compares the three governments, American government, Roman Republic, and Athens government. Okay? Remember, this is a video, so if I'm talking too fast and you can't get everything written down in the same time that I'm speaking, then you can stop it and pause it, rewind it if you have to, and go at your own pace. Okay? All right. So the early Roman government, it was a republic. A republic is a representative government. This means that the people of Rome would vote on somebody for the government that would hopefully think like them and represent them when issues came up that needed to be voted on. So the idea was that they would vote on this person thinking that that person would vote the same way that they would. It's very much like our government in America. It is actually modeled after the early Roman government, where like we vote on a mayor for our city. We hope that that mayor will go on to make decisions based on the way that we think because we voted on him because he thinks like us. Okay? The created offices that represented the interest of various groups. The Roman Republic gave people a voice directly or indirectly. Again, that goes back to that representative government. And then tribunes represented plebeians. Those are the common people in Rome, plebeians. Legislative and judicial. Roman government established a tripartite or a three-branch government, the same as the American government. We are also a tripartite. In fact, the branches of our government are named the same as the Roman government's branches. They are the legislative branch, which makes laws, the executive branch, which enforces the laws, and the judicial branch, which interprets the laws. The legislative branch included Senate and assemblies. The Senate was 300 members, mostly patricians and advised leaders. The assemblies, mostly plebeians, protected plebeian rights. 8 judges were in the judicial branch and oversaw courts and governed provinces. Roman government was essential in promoting the codification of law that laid basis for the rule of law. The executive branch. 2 consuls led the executive branch. They commanded the army and ran the government for 1 year. Each consul could veto the other. That meant they could reject a law or a decision that was made by the other. So if there were 2 people that were in charge and one voted one way, the other one could veto that and say, no, I reject that vote. And they would have to go back to the drawing board. A unique feature of Roman government to offset checks and balances was the ability to elect a dictator to rule Rome with absolute power for a short period of time during emergencies. In this government, the idea of a dictator was the first that we've seen in history. So what we know today is to be a dictator in a negative connotation. Rome originally set out to have a dictator in a more positive and constructive manner, because in a time of emergencies, we need one person to make a quick and decisive decision instead of going back and forth with vetoes and discussion about what should or shouldn't happen. So this is when they gave one person that total power for a short amount of time during an emergency. Once the emergency was over, then the Roman Republic government resumed as normal. The legacy of the Roman law. The U.S. government adopted Roman Republic's tripartite system, as I mentioned before. This gives us checks and balances and keeps one branch from getting too much power over the other. The government based on a written constitution gave us citizenship that was important in the Roman government. The citizens were expected to perform civic duties, and American citizens, their civic duties are to vote, pay taxes, and to serve on juries. Let me fix this real quick. Okay. So this here is a graphic organizer of the Roman Republic. You do not have this in your notes, okay? But I do want you to take a moment and look at this as I explain how the Roman Republic is divided and how it works, okay? You have the citizens of Rome. You have two groups. You have the patricians, men who own large amounts of land and were descendants from the founders of the city. They were rich and wealthy. Then you have the plebeians. They were ordinary peasant, farmers, and craftsmen. So they were the common people, the everyday people like you and me. They both made up the assembly. The two groups met here and voted for the following groups. Okay, they voted on the Council of Plebes. Excuse me, not the Council of Plebes. They voted for two councils, governed the city, elected for only 1 year, could not be re-elected for at least 10 years. Both had to agree before making a decision. Okay. Then you have the tribunes. They were appointed to protect the ordinary people against unfair treatment. And the third group that was voted on was the magistrates. Their job was to look after the money of Rome. They were appointed to be judges. And then, when the magistrates retired, they became members of the Senate. They had lots of experience and gave advice to consuls. Senate became important and ended up controlling Rome, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so now you have this chart that you need to look at. It's on the next page. We're going to fill all of this in, okay? We're going to compare all three of these governments, Rome, Athens, and America. All right, so the leaders. In Rome, you had two consuls appointed for 1 year. Athens, there was a ruler elected by the people of the assembly. And in America, we have a president elected by the Electoral College. For lawmaking, under Rome, you have the Senate, which are the patricians, and later the tribune, the plebeians. And the consuls could veto. In Athens, you have citizens voted on laws. And in America, representatives in House and Senate make laws. The president can veto or sign the law. So the House and the Senate are people that we vote on. And we hope that those people would represent us the way we would want to vote. Then the president can reject the law by vetoing it, or he can sign it in as an actual law. In Rome, courts and trials, you're innocent until proven guilty. You had lawyers and juries. In Athens, you were judged by 100 jurors, and then citizens could defend themselves. And then in America, it says see Rome, but that's because all of this is the same. So you need to write this right there. The major law documents were the 12 tables in Rome, and I believe that you read, or you should have already read, that this was posted for everyone to see. So there was no question about what was right and wrong as far as laws in Rome. Athens did not have one. And then America created the Bill of Rights. In Rome, the citizens were men born in Rome or whose parents were citizens. You could be a soldier or those who bought their citizenship. In Athens, it was free men born in Greece, over 21, and you had to own land, and your parents were both Athenian. In America, men and women can be citizens, have to be born in the U.S. or whose parents are citizens. You can also apply or be granted citizenship. You have to pass a citizenship test once you apply in order to be granted the citizenship in America. And voting, in Rome you have the tribune and the Senate who do the voting. Athens, it's all of the citizens, because remember, they were a direct democracy. And then America, citizens over 18. The Electoral College votes on the president. Remember, each state has a certain number of people in the Electoral College, and if the state has a majority of one president candidate over the other, then that state will vote for that candidate, that the Electoral College in that state will vote for the president that the citizens voted for. And that is it. Okay.